Nashville has always had a sound in its head. A version of country music that fits the format, works the radio, and doesn't ask too many questions. And for most of the genre's history, if your sound doesn't match that version, Nashville finds a way to make that your problem. These 5 artists found that out the hard way. 5 artists Nashville rejected who went on to change country music forever. What you're about to hear isn't 5 lucky breaks. It's 5 moments where the country music establishment made a specific choice between authenticity and commerce, between what was real and what was safe, between the sound that was already working and the sound that was about to change everything. Nashville picked the wrong side 5 times. Here's the record. Number 5. Kris Kristofferson. Here is what Nashville sees in 1965. A Rhodes Scholar who studied at Oxford, a former Army helicopter pilot, a man who turns down a teaching position at West Point to move to Tennessee and write songs. On paper, Kristofferson is the most overqualified person in any room on Music Row. None of it matters. Nashville doesn't know what to do with him. The songs are too literary, too strange. The imagery doesn't fit what's moving on radio, and radio is the only thing that counts. So Kristofferson takes a janitorial job at Columbia Recording Studios, the same building where some of the most celebrated records in country history were being made. He mops the floors. He empties the ashtrays after the sessions end. He is inside the machine, watching it run, and nobody in that building wants what he has. He eventually grows desperate enough to land a helicopter on Johnny Cash's front lawn to hand-deliver a demo tape. Cash listens. The industry slowly follows. Me and Bobby McGee. Help Me Make It Through the Night. Sunday Morning Comin' Down. Songs that become the backbone of an entire era. Songs Nashville doesn't want until it suddenly can't get enough of them. The man emptying ashtrays on Music Row turns out to be one of the greatest songwriters the genre has ever produced. Nashville just needs a few years to figure that out. Number 4. Shania Twain. Mercury Nashville signs her in 1991. Her self-titled debut arrives in 1993 and moves around 100,000 copies. In the context of early 90s country, that isn't a slow start. It's a failure. The label doesn't know who she is. They can't settle on her image, can't agree on her direction, and can't figure out what to do with an artist who keeps pushing towards something the format doesn't have a name for yet. Nashville in that era has a system. Shania Twain doesn't fit inside it. What Nashville misses is that the system is the problem. She connects with producer Robert John Mutt Lang. Together they make The Woman in Me in 1995. Mercury Nashville releases it without much conviction. The industry expects it to land the way the first album landed. It sells 12 million copies worldwide. Come On Over follows in 1997 and becomes the best-selling album in country music history. Not just for that year, not just for that decade. The best-selling country album ever recorded. The label that can't figure out what to do with her spends the next decade looking for the next Shania Twain. There isn't one. There is only ever one. And Nashville nearly lets her walk. Number 3. Dwight Yoakam. Dwight Yoakam arrives in Nashville in 1977 carrying a sound built from Buck Owens and Merle Haggard. Bakersfield country. Hard, lean, no polish, no crossover compromise. Bakersfield had always been a direct reaction to the Nashville sound's orchestral polish, the countrypolitan production style that smoothed the edges off everything it touched. Yoakam wasn't just playing old music, he was making an argument. The exact opposite of what the industry is selling at the end of that decade. Nashville tells him he is too hillbilly, too traditional, uncommercial. The word that keeps coming back is uncommercial. The genre that builds itself on Hank Williams and Lefty Frizzell looks at Dwight Yoakam and decides his sound has no market. So he leaves. He drives to Los Angeles and starts playing the Sunset Strip. Not country clubs. He shares stages with punk and new wave acts at venues like the Whiskey A Go Go, playing to audiences who have never heard anything quite like him. And it turns out that the raw edge of Bakersfield country and the energy of the Los Angeles punk scene are a better fit than anyone expects. An independent EP circulates in 1984. Reprise Records hears it, signs him, and Guitars, Cadillacs, etc., goes platinum in 1986. Nashville spends nearly a decade telling Dwight Yoakam that his sound is a liability. Los Angeles turns it into a career. The city that rejects him watches him sell records from 2,000 miles away. Number 2. Garth Brooks. January 1985. Garth Brooks drives from Stillwater, Oklahoma to Nashville. He has a degree in advertising from Oklahoma State University and a plan to become a country music star. He gets one day. He makes his rounds, hears no from every door he knocks on, and drives back to Oklahoma. 24 hours. The entire dream, attempted and abandoned inside a single day. He goes home, plays local shows, and spends 2 years deciding whether Nashville is something he can actually do. He goes back in 1987. This time he stays. He finds a manager in Bob Doyle and a publicist in Pam Lewis, and together they get in front of Capitol Nashville. The label is cautious. The sound is big. Some people inside the building think it's too big for country radio, too theatrical, too much. Capitol signs him in 1988 after considerable hesitation. What comes next doesn't build slowly. His debut single charts. His follow-up album, No Fences, sells over 17 million copies in the United States alone. By the mid-90s, Garth Brooks is the best-selling solo artist in the United States history by certified album sales, a figure that places him ahead of Elvis Presley. One day in Nashville in 1985, and every door closes. Less than 5 years later, he owns the format. Number 1. Randy Travis. If the sound war has a ground zero, it is a venue called the Nashville Palace. The Nashville Palace sits on Murfreesboro Road, a short drive from the Opryland complex. In the early 1980s, a young man from North Carolina named Randy Trawick works there. He cooks, he washes dishes. Between shifts, he performs on the small stage inside under the name Randy Ray. His manager, Lib Hatcher, who also manages the restaurant, believes in him completely. Nashville does not. Every major label passes. The feedback is consistent. Too traditional, too old-fashioned. Country radio in the early 1980s had spent years chasing the urban cowboy sound, that polished pop crossover version of country that the film and its soundtrack had turned into a commercial template. The format wants artists who can reach mainstream audiences. Randy Travis sounds like he is coming from an entirely different direction. In the ears of the Nashville machine at that moment, that is a flaw. The door had been cracked open. George Strait had started pushing against that urban cowboy mold with straight country in 1981, proving there was still an audience for something harder and more traditional. Ricky Skaggs was making the same case, but the major labels still were not convinced. Lib Hatcher pitches his demos to every label she can reach. The answer is always the same. Then Martha Sharp at Warner Brothers listens. She signs him in 1985. On the other hand, charts. 1982 breaks through in 1986. Diggin' Up Bones follows. The debut album Storms of Life goes quadruple platinum and does something no single record had managed in years. It shifts the entire direction of country music back toward traditional sounds. The movement that follows gets called neo-traditional country. George Strait lit the fuse. Randy Travis kicked the door wide open. Artists like Alan Jackson and Clint Black, the so-called Class of '89, would walk through it a few years later. Randy Travis does not name the movement. He causes it. The format that rejects him for being too country is eventually rebuilt in his image. Every label that passes on the man washing dishes at the Nashville Palace watches the format change around them. The sound they call uncommercial becomes the sound that saves the genre. 5 rejections. 5 moments where Nashville picks the safe side of the argument and loses. 5 times the gatekeepers look at the future of country music and see a problem. The sound war doesn't end. Nashville is still fighting it. And the artists carrying the wrong kind of sound are still out there somewhere, driving back to Oklahoma, mopping floors on Music Row, playing punk clubs in Los Angeles, waiting for one person in the building to actually listen. If you want more stories about the artists Nashville got wrong, the next video is already there. And if you think someone belongs on this list, put the name in the comments. That conversation is worth having.